In this video, I want to talk to the charities and nonprofits all about the most common mistakes nonprofits make when seeking sponsorship and what is holding back your sponsorship program as a nonprofit. Check it out. A lot of nonprofits think that sponsorship is different for them, that sponsorship is somehow different in the charitable sector. This is completely false. Sponsorship is a discipline. Charities have to learn to practice that discipline. But what is true is that charities and nonprofits seek sponsorship differently than the rest of the sponsorship industry. But that's not a good thing. In fact, there are several key mistakes that I see charities and associations making all the time, and it is costing you sponsorship dollars. Before we really dive in, though, I would love it if you could hit the subscribe button and click the bell icon. And if you like this video, I would love it if you gave me a thumbs up. The most important takeaway that all nonprofits should really internalize at every level, from volunteer to coordinator to board members and everyone in between, is that sponsorship is not philanthropy. I don't mean that sponsorship is philanthropy if you just use different words. It's not philanthropy. It has as much in common with philanthropy as baseball does with spaghetti. There's no relation whatsoever, except, of course, that as a charity, you get money as a result. But sponsorship and philanthropy are not related. They're not cousins. They're not even the same species. Treating sponsorship like philanthropy will not work. Sponsorship is all about you helping brands connect to their target market, to their audience. Why do brands want to connect to an audience? To sell them products. That's it. You are an access point to your shared audience. Logos and seats at your gala and e-blasts with logo placement and logos on your website with or without links do not help brands connect to their audience. As a nonprofit and as any sponsorship property, you have to be ready to prove return on investment. I don't mean that you need to prove that you're a good and worthy cause. What I mean is that when you get a marketing investment from a company, also known as sponsorship, you have to prove to them that you delivered on marketing outcomes. Sponsorship is a business-to-business sales discipline. This is not about companies giving you money so that you can achieve your mission. Worthy though it may be, that is not how businesses make decisions. You are selling a B2B product. That's how you have to think of sponsorship from now on. So this is how I want to frame sponsorship for you so that you can think of sponsorship the correct way as you move through the rest of this video, where I'm going to uncover the biggest mistakes people make, usually because they haven't had the mindset shift required to really be successful in the sponsorship industry. It's worth noting that I spent over a decade selling sponsorship in the charitable sector and in the nonprofit space before moving into other types of sponsorship. So these are not my theories. This is a result of my experience selling sponsorship, but then also literally the hundreds and hundreds of clients who are charities and nonprofits and associations that we've worked with to help them shift their sponsorship program to an ROI-based sponsorship opportunity. Big mistake number one is looking for mission alignment with companies. The reason that this is a mistake is if you're looking for mission alignment with a company, first of all, a for-profit company can't share your mission. If they shared your mission, they would be a nonprofit. A for-profit company's sole goal is to generate profit to return to its investors. When I hear nonprofits say we're looking for mission alignment, what they really mean is they're looking for alignment with the CSR or corporate philanthropy goals. But sponsorship is not philanthropy. Mission alignment is not required. And furthermore, for-profit companies can't share your mission or they would be your competitor. They would be another nonprofit looking for donations to achieve the same thing in the world. When you look for sponsorship, you are not looking for mission alignment. You are looking for a shared audience. A big mistake I see boards in particular, but not just boards, make is this belief that companies have a lot of money. But rooted in that belief is that since companies have a lot of money, this is an easier form of fundraising than individual giving, events, major gifts, planned giving, et cetera, et cetera. Well, this is false. Sponsorship is really, really hard work. And companies have a lot of money, not by giving it away. They have a lot of money because they invest their dollars into marketing to acquire new customers. Companies may have a lot of money. They may not. But actually, it's totally irrelevant. This idea that companies are cash cows, and if you just write them a letter or send them a sponsorship package, they're going to give you some of that money, is flawed. And it leads people down the wrong path when trying to seek sponsorship. Sponsorship is a multi-billion dollar a year industry. I don't know why boards in particular think that sponsorship is easy money, but it absolutely is not. When you get a donation, you're given that money, you do the work on the front end, and then of course you do have to do some stewardship and you do want to prove to your donors that you delivered on what you said you would. Sponsorship is the opposite. You're going to put in a ton of work on the front end to get the sponsorship, but you're going to put in 10 to 100x more work after you get the cash because you have to activate the sponsorship. You have to deliver. Then you have to prove ROI and deliver a fulfillment report and meet with the sponsor multiple times throughout the campaign or the year or around the event to prove that you did what you said you would do. Sponsorship is not easy. It's incredibly competitive. And all of the sponsors that I know are inundated with asks every single day. Sponsorship is not easy, and if you think of it as an easy discipline, you will fail. A really big mistake I see a lot of nonprofits making is deprioritizing sponsorship. Yes, it's a lot of work. Yes, it's competitive. Yes, it's challenging. Yes, it's radically different than donations, but sponsorship can be totally unrestricted funding. When was the last time you had a major donor say, "Here's money, just give yourself a raise"? Probably never. When was the last time you spent months and months and months applying for a grant, got it, and the grantor said, "You know what? Just use it to pay your rent"? Never. But when you're dealing with sponsorship, the delivery is you delivering on marketing assets, not tying the sponsorship to a specific program. So yes, sponsorship can be totally unrestricted. Which, in my opinion, in particular when I was working in the charitable sector, a dollar unrestricted that we could use to pay the rent, pay for fundraising, pay for admin, pay for overhead, was worth $100 of any other type of money. Forgetting how valuable sponsorship is means that you're always going to be stuck in that race to get unrestricted funding and beg donors to let you carve out 10% for admin and 15% for fundraising. Sponsorship is incredibly valuable in that respect, and therefore, in my opinion, worth the difficulty. I hear a lot from, in particular, those with a major gift background. Sponsorship is really just about relationship building. It's just major gifts, but with corporations. Wrong. Sponsorship is not major gifts for corporations. The sponsorship dollars might be really big, but you're not talking to an individual philanthropist who is taking money out of their investments because they believe what you believe. You are talking to someone in the marketing department with a marketing budget whose job relies on them proving return on investment. Are relationships important? Absolutely. But you know what's way more important? Actually delivering on the marketing outcomes. And so you can work a relationship all you want. If you cannot deliver a marketing outcome, you are not getting the sponsorship. I think that when people say sponsorship is like major gifts, I believe what they mean is that it's complicated and takes lots of meetings and lots of back and forth and lots of negotiation. But I actually think that Major Gifts oversimplifies how complicated sponsorship is. I think Plan Giving is actually a better example of the complexity of sponsorship with its activation and valuation and ROI and audience data, etc. It takes a specialist, and it takes a specialist approach to close sponsorship. Really important to remember that sponsorship is a marketing discipline. It is not fundraising. The vast majority of sponsorship goes to sport, motorsport, right? It doesn't go to charities, even though charities do incredibly well in sponsorship. Sponsorship itself is a discipline, and it is a marketing discipline. Yes, fundraisers should be in charge of sponsorship. An argument could be made that the marketing team actually should take on sponsorship. But by and large, most charities and nonprofits, it's going to be the fundraiser or the non-dues revenue specialist in an association. That's who should be doing sponsorship. But that doesn't mean sponsorship adheres to the rules of fundraising. It must be treated like a marketing discipline. Proposals that are full of mission and vision and the change you're trying to make are a big mistake in the sponsorship world. A sponsorship proposal is not a case for support. It is not a case for support with logo placement. It is not a case for support, but for events. A sponsorship proposal is a marketing document that outlines your audience, your activations, your marketing case studies, your media partnerships. That's what a proposal must contain. Gold, silver, bronze, throw it in the garbage. No more tiers, no more levels. Everything must be custom. Sending a sponsorship proposal full of mission and vision is the belief that sponsorship is philanthropy to a T. It doesn't work, and it gets your proposals thrown directly in the garbage. If you are seeking corporate philanthropy, seek corporate philanthropy. Don't do corporate philanthropy with logos. Keep the two disciplines distinct. And when you build sponsorship proposals, make sure you're creating marketing documents. Big mistake charities make is using gold, silver, bronze. Sponsors hate them. It's the mark of an amateur. It's the mark of corporate philanthropy. You must stop this immediately. That doesn't mean you should have 3 arbitrary levels with a bunch of logo placements in eBlast and just call them something else. It doesn't mean you should add platinum or ruby or adamantium. The existence of levels is a problem. Every other industry has moved on from levels in the 1980s. The charitable sector insists on using them, again, because they have confused sponsorship with corporate philanthropy. Gold, silver, bronze is not something you should have in your sponsorship package unless your goal is to receive $0 in sponsorship. You might get a couple $1,000s here and there using these tired old practices, but imagine how much more you could get for the same effort if you got rid of the gold, silver, bronze. It's the mark of an amateur. Sponsors don't want to work with amateurs. They want to work with marketing professionals. Gold, silver, bronze sends the wrong impression. Big mistake that charities focus on all the time is thinking sponsorship is just about logos on stuff. You're not trying to turn your charity into NASCAR and just coat everything in logos. What you're trying to do is give your audience, i.e. your donors, your volunteers, and those who care about your cause, an amazing experience. And that amazing experience is called activations. Activations are what you sell to sponsors, not logos. Logo placement is as out of date as gold, silver, bronze, and is a great way to make almost no money in sponsorship. And frankly, the use of gold, silver, bronze, and logos on everything leads directly into the next mistake, which is not understanding your audience. A lot of charities and nonprofits think of their audience as the people they help. So if you're a food bank, you might think of your audience as the people who come and get food from you. This is not your audience. You're not trying to monetize those individuals. You're trying to help those individuals. Instead, your audience are the people who attend your events, the people who are donating to you on a regular basis, your volunteers, your board members, those who care about, in this case, food banks and maybe food stability. That makes up your audience, and that's who you want to sell from a sponsorship perspective. But the idea that if you just help us, we'll have more money to achieve our mission, our audience are the people that use our services, that idea, that approach simply doesn't work in sponsorship. You want to know your audience, know them well, 25 plus data points at least about your audience, really before you can achieve any major success in sponsorship. Not knowing your value, completely making up your valuation, applying it arbitrarily to tiers, or basing how much money you need from a sponsorship perspective on how much money you need to deliver your mission. These are all mistakes. Valuation should be based entirely on the market value of the assets you are selling to a sponsor. It doesn't matter how much money you need. Your sponsorship revenue could greatly exceed your needs if the assets and audience you have to offer are high value. That was certainly the case when I was working in sponsorship in the nonprofit space. Tying sponsorship to how much money you need to break even is a big mistake. And making up your value is an even bigger mistake, because sponsors are going to ask you how you came up with these numbers, why you chose this amount. And just because you need a certain amount doesn't mean that logo placement or bronze level packages are worth that amount. All right, so those are all the common mistakes. I have no doubt if you are in the charitable sector or the nonprofit space, you have either seen these mistakes firsthand, maybe you made them. I certainly made plenty of these mistakes when I was first starting out. The sooner you can stop making these mistakes, the better. Let's talk about the right approach to sponsorship, though. Step one is to know your audience, but you want to articulate it in a marketing sense. Who is your audience? Who are your donors? Who are your volunteers? Who are the people that care about your cause? We want 25 plus data points on your audience, and you want to have at least 3 distinct personas or avatars within your database. Sponsors are interested in your audience and only interested in your audience. They want to connect to your audience in meaningful ways, not put logos on signs. You also need to know what your marketing assets are. Logos on signs, e-blasts, not useful. This is not what I would call high quality marketing assets. Instead, you want to really get a sense of how to describe your opportunity to a marketer. Because remember, you are a marketer when you're practicing sponsorship. Obviously, you have to know your value. You have to know what you're worth from a marketing perspective. That is to say, what would a sponsor pay for these same assets on the free market? That's what you want to be able to explain to a sponsor, and you want to be able to do a valuation of your opportunity. And closely tied to that, you have to be able to prove return on investment to your sponsors. They're not just giving you money to invest. They're certainly not giving you money as a donor. They're giving you money in exchange for marketing return on investment. So it is up to you to be able to prove to your sponsors that you delivered. Make sales material, not a case for support. You're not trying to argue to sponsors that they should give you money because you're a good cause. You want to market to sponsors and show them that you're a good sponsorship investment. Instead of sending in sales material to people who didn't ask for it, I want you to engage in discovery. That means you're going to sit down with sponsors and have an open and honest conversation about who their target market is, the audiences they're after, and how you can help them connect to that audience. You want to go to discovery meetings and ask questions, not try to sell things. Forget gold, silver, bronze. Forget lists of stuff. Instead, I want you to customize everything. You are not simply asking a sponsor for $2,000 for a bunch of logos on stuff. Find out what they're after, what they're interested in, what they're willing to pay 5, 6, 7 figures for, and customize something just for them. Now, I know everything covered in this training, in this video, sounds really complicated. I promise you it isn't. We help nonprofits every single day implement these strategies and stop making these classic mistakes. So if at any point you want to jump on a call with my team, you can do so on our website, sponsorshipcollective.com, and let's talk about how we can build a path forward together. Now, I would love it if you would share your key takeaways from this video down below in the comments. What's the biggest thing that stood out to you? The one thing you're going to change right away in your sponsorship program? And I would love it if you got value from this video, if you just hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, and click the bell icon so you never miss another video. And remember, the sponsorship proposal does not make the sale. You do. Good luck out there.